What a head, son! What a head!
Welcome back to Onto the Ball. I'm Scott, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Travis. And we're back for Arsenal versus Sheffield United tomorrow, 3 o'clock kickoff. And we've got resident Arsenal fan, Rob, joining us again. He enjoyed it so much the last time. He's come back for seconds. Trav, you must have made a good impression on him because he's back.
That's it, mate. Long lasting, and he's back for more. Big game tomorrow, though. Like he's back for the Chelsea game. So let's get straight into it, man. Big game.
Either that, or he wants to rant and rave about the Chelsea VAR debacles, Rob.
Mate, I don't even know where you start with that.
Let's start with it, Rob, because I'm obviously a stickler for the rules. VAR, being a Liverpool fan, I might be wrong, but I feel like I've been on the harsh end of VAR decisions, not just this season, but in past seasons. 10 years, I'd say, even though VAR's only been in for 3 of them. But let's just kick off at Arsenal-Chelsea. Saliba's handball, the penalty. Sanchez, GBH on, who was it on? Who did he clear out? Was it Jesus?
Jesus.
What,
yeah, it's Jesus. That's why Jesus is out for 2 weeks now. It's not because of his hammy. It's because of that collision.
I mean, we spoke about it on the last poddy. Like I said, no one knows more than me going toe-to-toe with Man City in the last 5 years that every point counts, and it can really make a difference towards the end of the season. It's always nip and tuck towards the end of the season. And is that 2 points dropped, or is it a point gained considering you're 2-0 down?
I think let's start with the Saliba handball penalty. It's one of those that as a football fan, it's not a penalty, but it's going to get given. It's like so frustrating because for me, when that ball's crossed in, Saliba already has his hand in the air before Mudryk heads the ball onto his arm. So how can you say that he's put his arm out and affected that? If that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is Mudryk is heading the ball already onto Saliba's arm, which is already out before the ball's even touched his head. And I just think there's no clarity around the handball anymore. Like as a football fan, it's like that it's not a handball, but it's going to get given.
See, that's the sad thing, Rob. That's the sad thing. When I watched it as a Liverpool fan, I still don't think it's a penalty. I still can't think how he's given it, especially with this season where the handball rule has been more sketchy than ever this season. I don't even know what the handball rule is anymore. I don't know if you two do, and you can teach me. But when I seen it, that's not a penalty in any game ever, least of all this season.
For me, I feel like with the handballs, I believe if there's enough distance from the ball being either headed or striked, if there's enough distance between that situation and the ball hitting someone's hand, I think it's acceptable to give a penalty. So when you look at on the same day, the Diaz and Michael Keane one, I believe there's enough distance there for Michael Keane to not necessarily move his hand out the way, but why have you got your hand out that far?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. There's enough distance. Whereas with that one, there's no distance whatsoever. Saliba has already got his hand in the air before the action of Mudryk heading the ball onto his hand. So for me, it's not a penalty, but it's going to get given. And that's the most frustrating thing. It's so frustrating. And when I just feel like with the whole refereeing situation, now that Arsenal are back in the Champions League, like the refereeing in Europe is so much better. That the flow of the game, the flow of VAR, everything. I just feel like our referees are it's all about them. There's no clarity with decisions. There's no clarity with the rules. Every single week it changes. It's just, I find it so hard and it's so frustrating because, like I said, that isn't a penalty, but it's going to get given.
It's all we talk about now, isn't it, lads? VAR, and it's not just 2 or 3 times a season. It's 2 or 3 times every single game. But Trav, the McTominay penalty, was it? It was Champions League Tuesday night, wasn't it?
No, that was a foul, but he gave a penalty when against Sheffield United, which was 1-1.
Sheffield United,
Yeah. So later on the same day, Now that was a penalty.
That was a blatant
because you've seen him move towards it.
And there was a
And
lot
you
of distance between the players.
Yeah, you can live with that. There's movement towards the ball, but
Defend the
Saliba,
ball.
like you say, how can you jump?
I think what's happening in this country is that they're just going down the letter of the law too much, because I think there's so much like fan pressure and media pressure over refereeing decisions that the refs are just now turning around and making decisions of the letter of the law and saying, well, that's what's in the rule book. They're not using common sense anymore. So, for example, with that Saliba one, it's not an unnatural position because his arm's in the air about 10 seconds before like MIDWEEK even heads it. Like there's just no reaction time either. It's just stupid just to give that decision. But what they've done is looked at his arm in the air and just said, oh, it's handball because it's an unnatural position. And the other thing as well, what I think kills the handball rule is that they're just like the reaction time from the decisions that they're giving is just getting ridiculous now. Like literally a yard away, just your arm, and you can't jump. You can't actually physically jump without putting your elbow above your waist. Like who jumps like that in a pencil? Like you just can't jump like that. So I just think, like you said, the refs and the VAR, they've got to use the common sense when they're making these decisions now. And I think it's getting worse because they've got so much technology to really analyze these decisions and slow it down, and they're still getting it wrong. And I think, I don't know how they fix it, but I just think that the handball rule just needs a whole overhaul in terms of the decisions that they make. I think it needs stripping back and starting again.
Rob, do you think it should be replayed?
No, Scott, I'll take a point. I'll take a point. Considering how he plays, I'll take a point. No replay. No replay. No replay.
Now, go on then. Let's move on to the next VAR contentious decision. That GBH from Sanchez. Tell me how that is not a penalty.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I can accept that that's not a penalty. I know you might think it's ridiculous, but the Saliba decision's more frustrating. I feel like with the Jesus one, it's very difficult to make a ruling around that because goalkeepers have to come through players to get the ball. Whereas if you make a rule, it's a difficult one. I know he gets smashed and I know he gets clattered, but Jesus didn't head the ball. Like Jesus wasn't really near the ball in terms of he didn't have an opportunity to head that ball. He never did. Like obviously Tomiyasu headed it. If Sanchez comes and clatters Tomiyasu, I think it's a totally different situation. I feel like if you make a ruling where you say, if a keeper comes and he smashes a defender, midfielder, whoever, and it's a penalty, it's a very grey area because it means that can keepers come for the ball anymore? Will strikers just stand and get hit? And then you go, oh, it's a penalty. So for me, I feel as though that one it's more 50-50. Like if it's given, you're not going to moan. But as an Arsenal fan, I can accept that wasn't given as a penalty. The one that frustrates me is the Saliba one. Really does.
The last thing I want refs to do is to level up a game because of an earlier mistake they made. However, in the context of that game, in the contentious Saliba penalty, I think that should have been given. And I still think it was a penalty.
Do you think it's any different from the Onana one against Wolves on the first day of the season? Do you think it's pretty similar to that?
No, I feel as though the Onana one, the player that was fouled was closer to heading the ball than what Jesus was. Jesus was almost in a pack of players.
Yeah.
Whereas it was the two Wolves guys going up for a header, and Onana's clattered. But did he clatter both of them at the same time?
More or less, yeah, more
or less. Whereas I feel like that one's more of Jesus doesn't actually jump to try and head the ball at any point, and Sanchez almost fouls him as he's jumping, and Jesus is on like grounded to the floor. So I feel as though that one's a little bit more like, if it was given as a penalty, I would have never said, oh, that's not a penalty. But with it not being given as a penalty, I can almost accept it more so than the Saliba situation.
On to Tuesday night, Rob. An away win in the Champions League to Sevilla, of all places as well. Tough place to go. You got the 3 points. Yeah, Trav knows that more than anyone. But obviously it's come at a price of Jesus being out injured yet again. What's the prognosis? How long is he going to be out for?
They're saying a couple of weeks, but if Arteta's saying a couple of weeks, it means he'll be back for Newcastle. That's what I think he'll be back for Newcastle. I feel as though they've probably looked at it and thought, look, I'm not saying Sheffield United's a walk in the park. No game in the Prem's a walk in the park, but I feel as though they're probably looking at it and thinking, look, we can let him sit out this. We can let him sit out this weekend. We can let him sit out the League Cup game and try and get him ready for the Newcastle game. So I think he'll be ready for the Newcastle game. And obviously, Partey's injured as well. Do you know what? The start of the season has been so frustrating
today.
Yeah, the start of the season has been so frustrating because I feel like we've lacked a little bit of fluidity in our play. But I believe we've lacked fluidity because we've not had a set 11. I don't think any time during the season we're going to have a set 11 because I feel as though we're going to rotate a lot. But I feel as though there's been a lot of games where you look and you go, okay, well, Arsenal haven't got Partey. Arsenal haven't got Jesus. Arsenal haven't got Martinelli. There's been a lot of games like that this season. So injuries, I feel, have been massive for us in terms of not how many points we've got, because I feel like we've got a good points tally. We're top of our Champions League group. But I feel like fluidity around the way we're playing at the moment is being hampered through injuries.
Declan Rice, your man of the match, I think you said on the text Tuesday night.
Yeah, him or Tomiyasu for me. Like, just that Seville tried so many times to get down our left-hand side, but Tomiyasu and Declan Rice, just every time the ball was getting popped into a channel, if Tomiyasu wasn't there, Declan Rice was there. He just covers so much ground. It's just,
Yeah, it's
sorry.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how much ground he covers. Declan Rice,
he's a machine, isn't he?
Yeah.
The appreciation level of him now playing for Arsenal has just gone tenfold. Like I always believe, like for me, you look at Partey and you think, can Rice do what Partey does on the ball? I still believe Partey's a better footballer in terms of on the ball, but the whole game, the all-round game, Declan Rice, he's just an absolute monster. Just everything he does, he does it with purpose, and he does it with drive and intention, and you know that everything that he's going to do is going to be to a good level and a good standard. He's just surprised. I think he's surprised Arsenal fans so much, and I think the fact that no one's talking about the fact that he was 100 million tells you everything you really need to know.
Yeah.
You wanted him at Man United bad, didn't you, Trav? Well, we all did. I'd have loved him at Liverpool.
Yeah, he's he's definitely the type of player we've needed for such a long time. And like I said, the frustrating thing from a United perspective, just to touch on it, I know it's an Arsenal thing, but we've literally bought 3 or 4 midfielders for over the price of Rice, and we're just nowhere near that level. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic coup for Arsenal. Can play the 6 and the 8. The scary thing is as well, he's just going to get better, isn't he? Like, he's only young. What is he, 24? Is he?
Yeah.
Maybe 24. What is he going to be like when he's like 28? He's going to be ridiculous.
And in that game against Seville, like, we deployed him in 2 different positions, kind of like in the first half an hour, basically in the first half, he was playing as like a double pivot with Jorginho. He's more or less sitting in the 6 with Jorginho. They're both trying to gain control of a difficult away game in the Champions League. And then in the second half, like, obviously we scored right on the stroke of half time. And in the second half, he was just like playing as an 8. But then you'd see him pop up in, like I said, like the left-hand channel, and he was just doing so much work. And the funny thing with Rice is, you don't look, I wouldn't say, oh, Rice needs a rest at the weekend. I feel like he's ready to go again. He's like an iPhone charger. Like, you plug him, like literally he plays the game and then you plug him in and he's 100% the next game.
Yeah. Straight
he's crazy. He's crazy. But that game,
that's what puts these players in the top level as well, though, isn't it? Their durability, their injury record is just so robust.
Yeah. Hopefully he's going to be robust. Hopefully he doesn't get that Arsenal injury gene. But that game was massive for us, I feel as though, because we've got a young side. And when you look at that Seville team in comparison to Arsenal, I know that Seville are more renowned to be a top Europa League team, but they've got players that have played a lot of Champions League football. You know, you likes of Navas, you likes of Ramos. They've played a lot of Champions League football in comparison to that Arsenal team. And we went into that game, and it was a difficult atmosphere, a difficult place to go in Europe. The pitch wasn't great. It was raining. There was emphasis on us to get a positive result because we'd lost at Lens. And I feel as though that was massive for us as a team and a club to realise that, no, we're a good side in this Champions League. Like, we can go to Seville and win. I know it's not a Real Madrid, but that was huge for us because we've not been in the Champions League for 7 years. It's a long, long time. And to play a game at the weekend at Chelsea, which was tough, we didn't play well. and then to bounce back and win in Seville, I feel as though that was huge.
It was probably the one fixture that you looked at in the group as well out of the 6 where you thought you could drop points in that game. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying you would have definitely won the other 5, but it was probably the one fixture where you thought, do you know what? If you lost narrowly, it wouldn't have come as a surprise. Like you said, Sevilla have been around the block. They're a very experienced European outfit. They've been in the Champions League. They've won many Europa League as well. And you would have thought like Arsenal potentially with a young side going out there, they could have come unstuck. But like you said, over the week, to get 4 points out of those 2 games and then going into the Sheffield United game, if you can get 7 points out of the week, I think it'd be a fantastic return.
Yeah.
Sorry, lads. I just had to shut the bedroom door. I think the dog turned the TV up. He's watching Spurs Crystal Palace. I'll go and join him after this. On to Sheffield United. Rob, no pressure, but I've got Arsenal in last man standing. We're down to about the last 6 from 50 people, and we're on about round 9 now. I've got nowhere to go next week, so it don't really matter if I get through, but Arsenal are not going to let me down, are they?
No, we shouldn't do. Realistically, we shouldn't do. What I would say about Sheffield United is I like to look at the ways that the opposition can get a result. So Sheffield United, other than the Newcastle game, which they lost, was it 8 or 9-0? Was it 9-0?
Yeah, 9. Yeah,
I think it
9.
was 8.
They've only lost by 1 goal in every single game. City scored a late goal against them.
Yeah,
Spurs scored 2 late goals against them. Man U scored. So I don't think because we're playing at home, I fully expect us to win. Don't get me wrong, and I feel like we should be winning comfortably. But it's all about squad management. What does Arteta do? Because does he put his best team out in terms of who's fit, or does he look at it and go, well, this is a game where I can maybe play Havertz as a number 9. This is a game where maybe I can try maybe play Kivior. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of team he puts out, because we've got a League Cup game against West Ham during the week. And is he going to look at it and think, well, I can rest my players for this game and maybe get into the next round of the League Cup? Or is he going to go, no, the league is my bread and butter. I'm going to put my best team out, and then I'm going to rest players for West Ham during the week, because then obviously the week after we've got Newcastle, which is a massive game. So I'm more interested in seeing how he's going to use the squad. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because obviously Havertz, obviously there's no Jesus, there's no Partey. So it'll be interesting to see who plays as the number 9, because when Eddie came on during the week, he just didn't affect the game at all. He just came on, he was giving fouls away. It was it was an Eddie game. He just seemed like he lacked any emphasis in his play. Like, he came on, he wasn't pressing, he was making stupid fouls, he wasn't running the channel. So it'd be interesting to see what Arteta does. Does he go with Havertz as a 9, or does he play Eddie? But yeah, I'm just more interested to see how we're going to use the squad for this Sheffield United game.
Arteta would have definitely got experience from last season, won't he, Trav? As Rob says, the league is his bread and butter. He's got to be going strong in the league and not be detracted like he was last season in the Europa League.
Yeah, I think I'm not. Yeah, I mean, the league looks like it's up for grabs a little bit as well, like in that sense, because obviously Man City have already lost a couple. I know they've bounced back with a win, but this is the time where Arsenal, still being unbeaten in the league, they've got to kick on. They've got to press. So if anything, he'll probably go strong and take a few boys off after 60 if the game's wrapped up. I don't think he'll take any risks with the result. I expect him to just try and put the game to bed around half time or just after. So I expect him to go quite strong with the lineup, to be fair. Yeah, I can't see anything but an Arsenal win as well. Arsenal are very strong at home, very difficult to beat. I expect him to start fast. We know how Sheffield United are going to play. Like you said, they've lost narrowly all season, but I expect them to just go the typical 2 banks, try not to get beat heavily, get that the onus is on Arsenal to try and break us down, those sorts of vibes. I can't see him being adventurous in any way, shape or form, but I expect Arsenal to be purring, come out the block, score a couple of early goals, and I think it'll be a comfortable day at the office for him, to be honest.
I don't know if you've checked FPL yet. Rob, you're more into it than Trav, but I've wild carded this week.
Oh, what have you gone for?
No, sorry, not wild carded. Free hit.
Free hit.
Wholesale changes. Straight
changes. For 1 week only, baby. I've packed it with Arsenal, Aston Villa, and Liverpool.
You save those free hits for double game weeks. You save them.
No. Yeah, rookie error.
He's not experienced enough for them things there on me.
To be fair, the changes I made, I brought Undogi out and I put Simicast in.
You've got lucky there. He's not playing.
Yeah, I took him out. That's why I took him out, because I didn't think he was going to play. That's experience. And then I took Hoyland out. And I put Alvarez in because I'm just thinking Harry Maguire up against Alvarez.
Right, so go on then, Rob. Have a shot of being Arteta for the night and pick me a team, because obviously part of my free hit I put in Odegaard, Saka, and Saliba.
What do I think the team will be? Is that what you're asking me? Yeah. So I think he will go Ramsdale. No, I'm joking. He'll go. He'll go.
Trav's Twitter would go off.
I think he'll go Raya in goal. I think he's going to play Tommy at left back. I think it's a game for Zinchenko in terms of we're going to have a lot of the ball, but I feel as though he's going to reward Tomiyasu for playing well when he came on against Chelsea and obviously the other night in Seville. So it'd be harsh for Tomiyasu to be pulled out and then play the League Cup game. So I think he's going to play Tomiyasu at left back, and I think Zinchenko will get the League Cup game, and then I think Tomiyasu will play in the Newcastle game, because that's going to be a very physical game. I think he'll go Gabriel and Saliba, Ben White at right back. I think he'll give Jorginho a rest, or he might. It's difficult to know. The League Cup makes it difficult because you're not gonna play Jorginho tomorrow and on Tuesday. Makes no sense. So if he wants to play Jorginho against Newcastle, maybe Jorginho might get a rest. So he might go Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, and then he might go Eddie, Trossard, Martinelli. So he might try
Trossard
Havertz again in the 8. Yes.
Where's my boy Saka?
Is he injured?
Oh, sorry.
Yo, you
Sorry.
Rob,
what are you doing to me? I played the free hit.
I forgot about Saka. I forgot about Saka.
Yo, they've got an embarrassment of riches. If you forgot about the best player, man.
I forgot about Starboy. Sorry,
So Saka,
sorry.
Eddie, Martinelli, Trossard on the bench.
Yeah, I think Trossard maybe. I think Trossard on the bench. Sorry, and I think he'll go. No, 100% Saka will play. Yeah, so I think he'll go. Rice, Odegaard, maybe Havertz in the 8. Eddie, Saka, Martinelli.
Sounds strong.
Yeah.
Let's head straight for
predictions.
predictions.
I can't believe I forgot.
No, you're good, man.
Don't worry, mate. I'm still not over it. You see them beads of sweat.
Do you know what though, Scott? I honestly would not be surprised if Saka was rested, because he looks a bit heavy at the moment. He's just come back from the injury. He didn't obviously travel with England. He looked leggy against Seville. He came off against Seville after 65 minutes. So I would not honestly be surprised if he did rest Saka. I'm not saying he will, but I would not be surprised if he thought, you know what, this is a good opportunity to rest Saka, because I don't want to tempt fate, but you don't get a lot of games like this in the Premier League, do you, where you believe that if you make 3-4 changes, you can still go and win the game. So I would not be surprised to see Saka on the bench. Not that I think he will be, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I hope not. Rob, score prediction.
Gonna go
with
for
goal
2-0.
Scorers.
I'm gonna go for a 2-0. I'm gonna go for Eddie and Martinelli.
My free hit's not looking in good shape, Trav. Apart from a clean sheet for Saliba.
You're looking for a 7-0, but I don't think we're playing. I don't think we're trying to play that sort of football. I think we're trying to play that sort of football where, you know, we go a few goals ahead and then we just try and relax and try and compose. Yeah, just try and see it out. I don't think you're going to see us like the way Liverpool play. For me, if Liverpool go to 1 or 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes, it could be anything. Honestly, it could be, but I believe that he's trying to instill into the players, look, there's certain games where you need to reserve energy. There's certain games where you don't need to go full tilt. So I'm going to go for a 2-0. I'll go for a 2-0.
Who's the penalty taker, Rob? Has it been confirmed definitively now?
Well, we've had Havertz take a penalty, we've had Odegaard take a penalty, we've had Saka take a penalty. I think Saka's the penalty taker, but I think Odegaard and Saka have this little thing where, depending on game situation, they probably look at each other and go, look, you can have this one, or I can have this one. And neither of them are missed yet. So it's not an issue. It's not a problem. But I think
I've never seen Odegaard miss a pen. I've never seen
he's only taken a few, obviously, this season. But I think Saka's the main penalty taker. But I do think that they've got a little thing going on, whereas dependent on the game situation, they might let the other one take it.
Yeah.
Nice one. Trav, score prediction with scorers?
Yeah, I think 3-0 Arsenal. I think Saka will probably get a couple and Odegaard. I like I said, I think Arsenal.
What you got there, Rob? Is that a little beer and Moretti on a Friday night?
And no, that looked good, that did, didn't it?
Oh,
yes.
Chris,
look at the condensation off the side of the bottle. That looks so frosty.
Frosty little bad boy.
Yeah, I reckon Arsenal 3-0. I think they'll be comfortable. I don't think Sheffield United will have the quality. I mean, we've just played them and we struggled, but we just play such awful football. Everyone else is. I mean, even though City nicked the game against them, they battered them. City should have been about 4-5-0 up before Sheffield United equalised. Especially it being at the carpet, I just think Arsenal will just be comfortable, mate.
Scorers, Trav, did you say?
Yeah, Saka with a couple. I think Odegaard will score as well. I think Eddie will run around and stuff and just create space. Odegaard will get on the ball. That's the thing I noticed about Odegaard. He's received a little bit of criticism. I don't know if that's...
I was just about to say...
Is he not playing well?
It's not that he's not playing well, but I feel as though he's not affecting games as much as he was last year. But I think that's a lot on the opposition as well. You know, he had a great season last year. So if you look at the Arsenal team, who are the players that you're going to target and go, right, we don't want him to get the ball? You're going to look at Odegaard and say, we don't want him to get the ball. And it's very much last season how Saka gets the ball. He's got two players on him. Like, teams aren't stupid. They look at players and they think, okay, well, we'll let... So, for example, with Arsenal, it's not that Gabriel's bad on the ball, but teams are going to go, okay, well, we won't press Saliba, but we'll press Gabriel probably a little bit more than we press Saliba. And I think teams are trying to nullify Odegaard because he's our link, isn't he, into that front three.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I feel like Arteta was big on the 2-8s this year, because I feel like he wanted to take a little bit of burden off Odegaard in terms of having another player who could do what Odegaard does. It's not worked at the moment. But yeah, he's taken a bit of criticism in the Arsenal space, and I'm a bit surprised. People are talking about he's just signed a new contract. You know, when he's just signed it. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But he's just out of form at the moment. He's just had a couple of games where he's probably not affected it as much. And I feel like Zinchenko's in a similar frame as well with the Arsenal fans. Like, Arsenal fans are straight away, all of a sudden it's, Tomiyasu has to play left back every single game. No, it doesn't work like that. It depends who you're playing. Like, for me, Sheffield United at home is a perfect game for Zinchenko. You're going to have a lot of the ball. He's going to help you progress the ball against a team, like you said, who are just going to sit deep, have every man behind the ball. So at Sevilla away, that was a perfect game for Tomiyasu. They're a physical team. Newcastle away, it's a perfect game for Tomiyasu. We've got the squad now where I feel like our fans were so fixed last year to an 11, and that's why we probably left a little bit short in the end, because we played the same 11 every single week, and towards the end of the season they looked tired. But this year I think you're going to see so many different teams, so many different combinations that the fans need to get used to it, really.
I've said that for a couple of years now, Rob. You're probably sick of me hearing it, Trav. That's why Man City are Man City. They bring a Gundogan out of cryogenic freezing in March. He's only played like 3 games all season, and then he blasts the last 10 to 15 games. The Arsenals, the Liverpools, they can't do that. And just what you were just saying there about Arsenal, their strength, other teams' opposition, trying to figure them out based on last season, the success they had. It was literally like listening to peak pools, like doubling up on Saka. They've been doubling up on Salah, going for Matip because they're not going to get any change out of Van Dijk, not going to get any change out of Saliba. It's, you know, these teams, they don't stand around and just accept defeat against the big teams like Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Man U.
I think that's Arteta's job, though. Like, That's what you get paid the big bucks for, and that's what the best managers do. They find a way to get those players 100%. In the game. Like you said, I think Arteta's now just got to find another way to get Odegaard back to his top level. Even when he dips under his top level, he's still top drawer. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he's fodder in the team. He's still unbelievable. But like you said, he's not really hit the heights that he did last season, and that there'll be reasons for that. But I just think, give him time, just keep playing him in his position. He'll find little pockets of space. And like you said, it might be to do with the movements of the other players around him. Jesus was instrumental to giving Odegaard space last season with his runs in behind and the way that he stretches teams. You don't really get that sort of same impact from Eddie. Saka's been in and out of form as well. So like you said, fundamental things in and around like sort of a traditional number 10 can have that impact. Just another thing as well on Havertz. I mean, it might be the time, like Rob was saying, in terms of rotating people, where Odegaard does come out the firing line a little bit and rest, and they play Havertz in that role a little bit.
Just for a game or two, yeah.
Yeah, that traditional 8 role is not really suiting Havertz, but he might be able to play a little bit higher up. So that could be an option to try and get him on the ball in the right areas as well.
It's like you say, Rob, sometimes fans get a little bit sick of having nothing to talk about, don't they? So they'll pick on a player, even when you're at the top of the league and you're flying, and then it's a bit like just for something to say. Fans are so fickle.
It obviously, because we follow our own team's Twitter, don't we? So sometimes we're a little bit blinded to what. Obviously, we watch the games, but we're a little bit blinded to what's happening in, for example, Liverpool spaces or Man United spaces. But it's just, I find everything so reactive. It's like people are talking about Saka's not having a good season, and you think he's contributed like in every single game. I just feel everything's so reactive, isn't it, with social media and
Yeah, exactly. Because players will get built up as well, don't they? And in some like inexperienced or childish supporters' minds, they want Saka to score 38 goals in 38 games like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. It doesn't work like that.
Did you guys watch Monday Night Football last week? And it made me appreciate that, you know, there aren't just a big 6 or 7 in the league. Like Gary O'Neill was on there, and he talked about how
wasn't it?
It was amazing. And I thought, you know, he's had a game plan for over a week of how he's going to beat Bournemouth away. So Sheffield United, we should be beating them. But do you think Sheffield United have come into the Emirates and thinking, all right, okay, right, we're not? They've obviously worked all week on how they're going to try and stop Arsenal. I thought Gary O'Neill's little section on Monday Night Football was amazing. Like how he literally showed that this is what he's been working on, and it worked. He showed an example in the game against Bournemouth how you got 2 players on the left hand side. Trying to attract other players to the ball, and then it was Gomez just dropped into a space, played the ball to him, and all of a sudden you're on the turn and you're in on their back 4. But every single team in the Premier League, in the Championship, in League One, in League Two, are working on this diligently every single week. So I feel like sometimes we need to like understand that it's not just a case of, oh, okay, we've got better players than this team. It's all about tactics, it's all about decisions. Yeah, 100%.
100%, mate.
Is everyone united in wanting Bournemouth to get relegated now for sacking Gary O'Neill after his performance on Monday Night Football? He won a lot of fans, didn't he? And when you look where Bournemouth are compared to Wolves now and the way he speaks, he won a lot of fans. It was unbelievable. They sacked him, especially after the way he performed last year, especially after Scotty Parker saying he hasn't been backed by the board and we're up against it. They sacked Scotty Parker. Gary Neal come in and perform miracles and then sacked him. Like, the mind boggles.
Grass ain't always greener, innit? Like some ownership models, they just like get excited and they just think flavor of the month. Chelsea did it with Potter, didn't they? Look how that turned out. So, like you said, sometimes you just got to stick with what you've got. If it's working, if it's not broken, don't try and fix it. And I think they regretted that massively with that decision sacking Gary O'Neill. But yeah, I saw
Pulis at Stoke. That's the one I always think of.
Yeah,
you get too big for your boots. Try to fix something that ain't broken. The next minute he's gone and you're relegated.
But I feel like these owners that are not very clued up get sucked into social media and what the fans have to say. You look at Birmingham City, for example. They're 6th in the league. When was it like Birmingham been fighting relegation for the last 3 seasons? And they've gone and got Rooney, and he's lost his first 2 games, and the fans are already going crazy. It's like, what's going on?
Never been a good manager. He's
always been... I know, but
Rooney, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard. When are they going to learn these owners playing
Not
football
every
manager?
player can become a football manager. They need to just they need to stop this, man. Seriously.
Do you know who I was thinking of for Man U? I'm not going to say he's going to be the Man U manager, but everyone looks at Man U and you always want a legend to become the manager of your club. But sometimes, like Arteta's not a legend of Arsenal. Don't get me wrong; he's a good player, played in the Champions League. But what's the name of the manager at Ipswich? What's his name?
McKenna.
Yeah, like look at him. He clearly is a good manager. He's clearly a good. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Man United manager. Don't get me wrong.
Great football, there, aren't they?
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying? Like, we get fixated on these names. Like Arsenal fans were talking about Thierry Henry being the manager. Just doesn't make any sense.
The big thing what you're alluding to, Robin, you've hit the nail on the head. Actually, it's the pressure of managing a big club, though, as well. Like that is the big thing that these players like. There's only an elite crop of managers that can do that. And Arteta's not quite there yet, but he's still young. I think he can get into that elite. When I think of elite managers in the Premier League now, I genuinely think Klopp and Pep are a cut above the rest. They just are in terms of their machines, the way they just churn out the results and the ability to play football that they do week in, week out, standards out of players, improving players at the rate that they do. I just think them two are just a little bit further ahead of the rest of the pack. And just alluding to United, I thought Ten Hag was going to be in at least that next bracket underneath. But I just can't even put him in like literally the top 8 or 9 managers in the league at the moment, bro. Like it's just that bad for United. Like the football we're playing. And I know people are saying injuries and hierarchy and structure and all that. But I'm just like, we've all played ball to a half decent-ish level, even amateur level. Like even if you play for flipping Keyworth or whatever, you don't care who owns Keyworth, do you? Or like Clifton Allwhite. Who owns Clifton Allwhite? It's like you don't think about that when you put your boots on the Saturday. So all this jazz about it's because we haven't got a director of football or whatever. It's just it's going too far. The excuses that we're using. Ten Hag spent a lot of money, got a lot of injuries, and it's just getting out of hand. Like this football needs to change, or I think he's on a tightrope. I really do.
Trav, you're taking lines out of tomorrow's Manchester derby.
Don't give me that, mate. I don't care. Tomorrow you'll hear the same energy, mate. Don't worry.
Dan from Two Blues is in. Hey up. Cheers, Dan. Cheers for joining, as always, brother. And my prediction, 5-0 Arsenal.
He's going for the 5-piece. 5-piece as well. 5-piece chips.
Clean. 5-piece, no fries. Saliba clean sheet. A hat trick for Saka and 2 penalties for Odegaard.
Yeah,
honestly, it's going to be comprehensive. It's going to be easy. It's going to be a joy for Rob to watch. That's pretty much it. I'm going to put these score predictions in the description for anyone that hasn't joined us. If anyone has joined us, made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. Rob, we're going to try and do a Manchester derby preview tomorrow at some point with Trav and our pal Naz. You're always welcome to join, brother. If you want to, we'll let you know if you can make it sound, and if you can't, no worries about it. 5-0 Scott, and I thought you were a Liverpool fan. Dan, have you seen my free hit on FPL? Go check it out. I've gone all in. Rob's told me off for using a free hit, not on a double game week. I'm learning all the time. I'm like a sponge.
Yeah, come on.
Salah.
Got to use them.
Salah captain, Rob.
Who have Liverpool got this weekend?
Nottingham Forest at home. Sunday, 2 o'clock.
I'm captain Salah as well.
I've kept Salah captain. He was captain last week against Everton as well, when many chose Haaland. So I was over the moon with that. I think it was a 36-point haul. So I'm chasing you down, Rob, at the top of the league. I tell you what, Rob, Dan from Two Blues, he's in our league. Yeah. He's Mikasa Kasade.
Well, Scott, you've used that free hit, so I'm confident now. That's you're regretting it.
Do you find like teams that have obviously homed in on Villa and Arsenal having 2 easy home games and Liverpool? Do you get a double game week where 3 clubs have got 2 easy games?
Yeah, sometimes
it does happen. Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. Yeah, I'm a firm believer is you don't have more than 3 players from each team, because if they have a bad game, it ruins your game week. It's like
you can't have more than 3, can you?
Yeah, don't tell me the secrets, Rob, man.
I stick to two players for each team. That's what I try and stick to.
Oh, no more than 2.
Yeah, because if they have a bad game, you're done, aren't you? Really, like it's difficult to get out of that hole. So I try and stick with 2 players. I was tempted to put Diaby in, but I just thought I've got Watkins, Digne, and Diaby. It's too many Villa players. It's like Villa aren't Real Madrid or Man City, are they? They can have an off day. So
well, they went strong last night, didn't they, Rob? In the Conference League, so I'm a bit panicking now. They played pretty much the first team, and a lot of them played the full 90 minutes. But I've got Watkins, Cash, and Digne. So I'm like panicking that this free hit is all gone.
No, I think you'll be all right. But I think they should keep a clean sheet at home to Luton. So I think
Let's hope so. But honestly, I thought I was just saving triple captain for a double game week. But what do I know? Right, lads, we're going to be having, if anyone's made it this far, we're going to be streaming pretty much all weekend. We're going to try and break some records for previews, match reactions, Liverpool, Forest, Man United, Man City, the derby, watch along, match reaction. Let's see how many we can do, 3 or 4 streams. You up for it, Trav?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sound. And Rob, you can join on any of them. We'll see you in the group chat.
Yeah, of course, man. If I'm there, if I'm around, I'll join. 100%.
Yeah, man.
Nice one. Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Header. But Gerrard! Oh, you beauty! What a head, son!